Kira Voss stepped off the transport shuttle and felt her body immediately protest against the increased gravity of Galactic Union Station. Her blue skin flushed a deeper shade as her three-chambered heart worked harder to pump blood through her slender frame. The bright lights of the arrival terminal made her large, sensitive eyes water. She blinked rapidly, the transparent third eyelid sliding across to protect her vision. "First time off-world?" asked the green-skinned Tralaxian security officer, noticing her discomfort. "First time away from Lumina," Kira admitted, trying to stand taller despite the gravity pulling at her bones. "First Luminian diplomatic mission in 50 years. The officer nodded with understanding. "Stick to the purple-marked corridors. They're adjusted for a low-gravity species." Kira thanked him and followed his directions, grateful for the slightly reduced gravitational pull in the diplomatic wing. Her people, the Luminians, were known throughout the galaxy as brilliant philosophers and negotiators with powerful telepathic abilities. What they lacked in physical strength, they made up for in mental capacity. Still, leaving their low-gravity, dim homeworld was a challenge few undertook. The diplomatic quarters buzzed with activity as representatives from 27 different species prepared for the upcoming Galactic Union Expansion Summit. Kira found her assigned room and placed her palm against the scanner. The door slid open, revealing a space already adjusted to mimic Luminian conditions: lower light, higher oxygen levels, and a sleep platform instead of a bed. "Diplomat Voss," a voice chimed from the room's communication system. "Ambassador Xylith requests your presence in the main briefing room in 1 hour." "Acknowledged," Kira replied, unpacking her few belongings. She changed into her formal diplomatic attire, flowing silver robes that caught the light with each movement, symbolizing the transparency valued in Luminian negotiations. 1 hour later, she made her way carefully down the corridor, still adjusting to the strange sensation of increased weight. The briefing room doors opened automatically as she approached, revealing a circular chamber with representatives from various worlds already seated. Ambassador Xylith, her skin a deeper blue than Kira's, indicating her advanced age, motioned for her to take a seat. "We were just discussing the newest addition to the Galactic Union," Xylith said. "The humans have arrived and will join us shortly." A murmur ran through the assembled diplomats. Humans were one of the newest species to achieve faster-than-light travel and were still viewed with caution by many. Established Union members, "Are they truly Deathworlders?" asked a small, furry diplomat from Miriax. "I heard they evolved on a planet that would kill most of us within minutes. High gravity, extreme temperature variations, intense solar radiation, and an abundance of predators," confirmed Ambassador Xylith. "Their bodies evolved to survive conditions that would crush most of us. They're incredibly durable." Kira had studied the reports but still found it hard to believe any sentient species could evolve in such harsh conditions. On Lumina, the gentle environment had allowed her people to develop their minds rather than their bodies. The idea of creatures who had to fight constantly just to survive seemed almost primitive. The briefing continued with discussions of protocol and objectives for the summit. Afterward, Kira decided to explore the public areas of the station to better understand this gathering place of cultures. She followed the purple-marked pathways to a large, central plaza where various species mingled around. Exotic food vendors and information displays dotted as she studied a holographic map of the station. The entire structure suddenly shuddered. Alarm. Bells began to sound as the artificial gravity fluctuated. Kira felt herself becoming lighter, then heavier, the rapid changes causing her stomach to lurch. Around her, panic spread as smaller aliens began to float upward while heavier species struggled against increased gravitational pull. "Environmental system malfunction," announced a calm voice over the station's communication system. "Please remain in place while engineers address the issue." Another violent shudder ran through the station. Kira lost her footing as the gravity shifted again. She fell forward, her fragile body heading straight toward a metal support column. In her homeworld's gravity, such a fall would be gentle. Here, it could easily break her bones. Before she hit the column, something solid caught her. Strong arms wrapped around her waist, stopping her momentum. Kira looked up into the face of a creature she had never seen in person before, a human. "Whoa there," the human said, his voice deeper than any she had heard before. "Gravity's going crazy. Better stay low." He helped her to a seated position against the wall, his movements quick and precise despite the fluctuating gravity. Kira noticed how easily he adjusted his balance, his body seemingly unbothered by changes that left her dizzy and weak. "Jack Nichols," he said, crouching beside her. "Station Environmental Engineer." "Kira Voss," she replied, trying not to stare at his alien features, the rounded ears, small eyes, and strangely colored skin that looked so vulnerable without scales or fur. "Luminian Diplomatic Corps. First time off your homeworld?" he asked, correctly reading her distress. She nodded, embarrassed by her weakness. "Don't worry about it. Even I get thrown off by gravity glitches, and Earth has about 3 times Lumina's pull." He tapped a device on his wrist. "My team is working on stabilizing the environmental controls. Should be fixed in a few minutes." Kira watched as he helped others who were struggling with the gravity changes. Despite his alarming speed and strength, his actions were gentle. He lifted a child-sized Peruvian who had become stuck floating near the ceiling, carefully returning the frightened being to its parent. When the gravity finally stabilized, Jack returned to check on her. "You okay to stand now?" he asked, offering his hand. Kira hesitated before taking it, feeling the warmth and surprising softness of his skin. She had expected a Deathworlder to feel as harsh as their homeworld. "The diplomatic wing is through there," he said, pointing toward a corridor. "I can walk you back if you'd like." "Thank you," Kira said, finding herself curious about this human. "Have you worked on the station long?" 3 Earth years, he replied as they walked. "About 5 of your Luminian cycles? And you don't find it difficult being away from your homeworld?" Jack laughed. "Honestly, the lower gravity here is a nice break. Everything's lighter, easier to lift." They reached the entrance to the diplomatic wing and Jack stopped. "This is where I leave you. Non-diplomatic personnel aren't allowed past this point without clearance." Kira felt a strange reluctance to end their conversation. "Perhaps we will meet again, Jack Nichols." "Count on it," he said with a smile that displayed his flat, herbivore-like teeth. "I'm doing maintenance in the diplomatic wing tomorrow. Maybe I'll see you around." As she watched him walk away, moving with what seemed to her like alarming speed and confidence, Kira felt both nervous and intrigued. Her superior had warned that humans were unpredictable and potentially dangerous due to their evolution on a harsh world. Yet this one had shown nothing but HELPF Later that evening, Ambassador Xylith visited Kira's quarters for a private briefing. "I saw you speaking with a human earlier," she said, her tone neutral but her mind projecting concern that Kira could easily detect with her telepathic senses. "He helped during the gravity malfunction," Kira explained. "Be cautious around them," Xylith warned. "Humans appear friendly, but they come from a world of constant conflict. Their bodies are built for survival in ways we can barely comprehend. Their bones break less easily, their skin heals quickly, and their muscles are extraordinarily dense. What seems like a gentle touch to them could harm you." Kira nodded obediently, but as she prepared for sleep that night, she found herself thinking about Jack. There was something fascinating about a species so different from her own. Tomorrow, she would learn more about these Deathworlders, she decided. For diplomatic purposes, of course. The next day, Kira received an official assignment from Ambassador Xylith. She was to learn more about human culture for diplomatic purposes. When she checked her communication device, she found that Jack Nichols had been assigned as her cultural liaison. Kira felt a strange flutter in her 3-chambered heart, unsure if it was excitement or nervousness about spending more time with the Deathworlder. They met in the station's central plaza near a viewing window that looked out at the swirling nebula beyond. Jack arrived exactly on time, wearing a blue uniform with the station's engineering insignia. "Good morning," he said with a smile. "Ready for Human Culture 101? Where do we begin? I thought we could start with something fun." "There's a human recreation area on level 5. It might help you understand us better than any lecture could." They walked together through the station corridors. Kira noticed how other species moved aside when they saw Jack coming, giving the human extra space. She wondered if they feared him or simply respected his physical presence. The recreation area was filled with humans engaged in various activities. Some lifted heavy objects repeatedly, others chased each other around a marked track, and in one corner, pairs of humans pushed against each other in what looked like controlled fighting. "What are they doing?" Kira asked, her eyes wide. "Just staying fit," Jack explained. "Earth's gravity is stronger than the station's, so we have to work to maintain our muscle mass." He led her to a quieter section where several humans sat at tables moving small objects on checkered boards. "This is chess," Jack explained. "A strategy game. Would you like to try?" As Jack taught her the rules, Kira found herself struggling to focus. Her telepathic abilities, while helpful in diplomatic situations, were now picking up surface thoughts from the humans around her. Most Galactic Union species had natural mental shields, but humans did not. "Are you okay?" Jack asked when she missed an obvious move. "You look distracted." "I can hear fragments of thoughts," she admitted. "Humans project quite strongly." Jack looked surprised. "You can read my mind?" "Not exactly. Just surface emotions and occasional clear thoughts. It's considered rude among my people to listen too closely without permission." "What am I thinking right now?" Jack challenged with a smile. Kira hesitated, then blushed a deeper blue. "You're wondering what my skin feels like and if it's as soft as it looks?" Jack's face turned pink. "Well, that's embarrassing. Sorry about that." "No need to apologize. Curiosity is natural when meeting new species." After the game, which Kira lost despite her accidental advantage, Jack suggested they visit the station's Earth simulation room. "It might help you understand humans better if you experience a bit of our homeworld," he explained. The simulation room was a large chamber that could be programmed to mimic various planetary environments. When they entered, it was currently set to display Earth forest scene with tall green plants called trees and a blue sky overhead. "Computer, standard Earth gravity and atmosphere," Jack instructed. The change was immediate and overwhelming. Kira felt her body being pulled downward with alarming force. Her legs buckled, and she would have fallen if Jack hadn't caught her arm. "Sorry," he said quickly, instructing the computer to reduce gravity to 50% of Earth normal. "I should have warned you and started lower." Even at half strength, Earth's gravity felt oppressive to Kira. She took shallow breaths, her lungs working harder in the denser atmosphere. "This is how you live all the time?" she asked in disbelief. Jack nodded. "This actually feels light to me. Full Earth gravity is about 3 times what you're experiencing now." Kira looked at him with new understanding. No wonder humans moved the way they did with such strength and speed. Their entire bodies had evolved to function under conditions that would crush her. "Let me show you something beautiful about Earth," Jack said, helping her to a bench where she could sit. "Computer, display day-night cycle accelerated." The simulated sky began to change, the blue darkening as the light source moved across the horizon. Colors Kira had never seen before spread across the sky, oranges, pinks, and purples blending together. "We call this a sunset," Jack explained. "It happens every day on Earth as our planet rotates away from our sun." "It's beautiful," Kira whispered, momentarily forgetting the discomfort of the gravity. As darkness fell in the simulation, tiny points of light appeared overhead. "Stars," Jack said. "You can see thousands of them from Earth on clear nights." "On Lumina, our thick atmosphere obscures most stars," Kira explained. "We only see our 3 moons and the brightest stars." They sat in the simulated Earth night talking about their homeworlds. Despite the physical discomfort, Kira found herself fascinated by Jack's descriptions of Earth's varied environments, vast oceans, towering mountains, and sprawling deserts. After leaving the simulation room, Jack took Kira to the station's dining area. "Human cuisine time," he announced. "Nothing too extreme, I promise." The food server brought several dishes. Jack explained each one, from the simple bread to something called pasta, covered in red sauce. Kira carefully tasted each item. The bread was pleasant, but when she tried the pasta sauce, her mouth felt like it was burning. Water! She gasped, reaching desperately for her cup. Jack looked alarmed. What's wrong? It burns, she managed to say after drinking the entire cup of water. The tomato sauce? But it's not even spicy, Jack said, confused. Then understanding dawned on his face. Oh no, I forgot that Luminians have more sensitive taste receptors. What tastes mild to me probably feels like fire to you. He quickly ordered something called plain rice for her, which turned out to be much more suitable for her palate. As they finished their meal, Kira noticed Ambassador Xylith entering the dining area with several other diplomats. The ambassador spotted them and frowned slightly before approaching their table. Diplomat Voss, she said formally. I see you're continuing your cultural research. Yes, Ambassador, Kira replied. Engineer Nichols has been most informative about human customs. Xylith's gaze shifted to Jack, studying him with thinly veiled suspicion. I'm sure he has. Remember, the diplomatic briefing begins in 1 hour. Don't be late. After she left, Jack leaned forward. I get the feeling your boss doesn't like humans much. Many of the older generation are cautious about newer species, especially those from harsh worlds, Kira explained. They worry that Deathworlders bring aggression and unpredictability to the Galactic Union. And what do you think? Jack asked Kira. Considered the question. Just yesterday, she might have agreed with Xylith, but after seeing Jack's world, feeling its crushing gravity, and understanding what it took for humans to survive there, she had a different perspective. I think species that evolve on challenging worlds develop strengths we don't have, she said carefully. Physical strength, yes, but also adaptability and resilience. Those aren't necessarily negative traits. Jack smiled, a warm expression that made his eyes crinkle at the corners. That's the nicest thing anyone from a paradise world has ever said about us Deathworlders. As they parted ways outside the dining area, Kira realized she had enjoyed her time with Jack despite the physical challenges. Learning about humans was her diplomatic duty, she reminded herself. The fact that she was looking forward to seeing Jack again tomorrow was simply professional interest in an important Galactic Union species. At least, that's what she told herself as she hurried to the diplomatic briefing, still thinking about Earth's beautiful sunset and the human who had shown it to her. Over the next few weeks, Kira and Jack spent more time together than her diplomatic duties required. She told herself it was important research, but the truth was she enjoyed his company. Jack had a way of explaining human concepts that made them easier to understand, and he never made her feel weak despite the obvious physical differences between them. Today, Jack had invited her to a human social gathering called a party in the station's recreation area. Kira wore her casual diplomatic attire, a flowing blue robe that matched her skin tone. She took extra care with her appearance, applying a subtle shimmer to her face scales that caught the light when she moved. When she arrived, the room was already filled with humans and a few other species. The lights were dimmer than usual, and music with a strong rhythmic beat played in the background. Kira immediately felt the vibrations through her sensitive skin. You made it. Jack's voice came from behind her. He looked different out of his engineering uniform, wearing what he called jeans and a button-up shirt in dark blue. Can I get you something to drink? Non-alcoholic, of course. I know Luminians can't process Earth spirits. Water would be nice, Kira said, grateful for his consideration. Jack returned with 2 glasses and guided her to a quieter corner. So this is how humans socialize? It seems very loud. We're a social species, Jack explained. We build communities wherever we go. Even here on the station, we've created a little piece of Earth. Kira watched the humans interact, noticing how they touched each other casually, hands on shoulders, friendly hugs. Even the strange greeting ritual Jack had explained was called a high five. Would you like to dance? Jack asked, nodding toward an area where several humans moved their bodies in time with the music. I'm not sure I know how, Kira admitted. There's no right or wrong way. Just feel the music and move. Jack led her to the dance area. He began moving to the rhythm, his movements confident and natural. Kira tried to copy him, but her body didn't seem to flow the same way. Still, she found herself enjoying the experience. especially when Jack smiled encouragingly at her attempts. As the music changed to a slower rhythm, Jack moved closer to her. "This is a slow dance," he explained. "May I?" He gently placed his hands on her waist, careful not to apply too much pressure on her fragile frame. Kira hesitantly rested her hands on his shoulders, feeling the solid muscle beneath his shirt. They swayed together to the music, and Kira was acutely aware of the warmth radiating from his body. "Jack, everyone's looking at us," she whispered, noticing the stares from around the room. "Let them look," he said with a shrug. "Human-Luminian diplomatic relations, right?" But Kira knew it was more than that. The way her heart raced when he was near, the way she looked forward to seeing him each day, this had gone beyond cultural research or diplomatic duty. The moment was interrupted when her communication device chimed with an urgent message. Kira stepped away from Jack to check it. "I'm needed in the diplomatic wing," she said, reading the message from Ambassador Xylith. "There's been a development in the territorial negotiations with the Vespari." Jack nodded, though she could sense his disappointment. "Duty calls. Will I see you tomorrow?" "I hope so," Kira said, feeling a strange reluctance to leave. When she arrived at the diplomatic wing, she found Ambassador Xylith waiting with a stern expression. "You're late," Xylith said, "and you smell like human food and music." "I apologize." "Ambassador, I was researching human social customs." Xylith's expression didn't soften. "In my office now." Once the door closed behind them, Xylith activated a privacy field that prevented any telepathic leakage or electronic surveillance. "Your assignment to study human culture was meant to be professional, not personal," Xylith said. "There are images circulating among the diplomatic corps of you and Engineer Nichols dancing in a very intimate manner." Kira felt her face flush a deeper blue. "We were just—" "I don't care what you think you were doing," Xylith interrupted. "The perception is what matters." The Vespari delegation arrives tomorrow to discuss their border dispute with the humans. How do you think they'll react when they see a Luminian negotiator has personal ties to a human? "My personal relationships don't affect my diplomatic abilities," Kira argued, "don't they? Our species is known for telepathic connections. The Vespari will question whether you've formed mental bonds with this human that could compromise your neutrality." Kira wanted to protest, but she knew Xylith was right about the perception issue. Luminians were valued as negotiators precisely because of their reputation for neutrality. "There's more," Xylith said, her tone softening slightly. "I'm concerned for your safety, Kira. Humans come from a world that shaped them into powerful, potentially dangerous beings. What feels like a gentle touch to him could break your bones." "Jack is careful," Kira said. "He understands the differences between us. For now, perhaps, but humans are emotional creatures. In a moment of excitement or anger, his control might slip." "I've seen it happen before." Xylith handed Kira a datapad. "These are your new assignments. You'll be working directly with me on the Vespari negotiations, which means you'll have no time for social research. And I'm reassigning Engineer Nichols to maintenance duties in the outer ring away from the diplomatic wing." Kira felt a cold weight settle in her chest. "Ambassador, please. This isn't a request, Diplomat Voss. It's an order. Your career and our mission here are too important to risk over a temporary fascination with a Deathworlder." After leaving Xylith's office, Kira sent Jack a message explaining that she would be busy with the Vespari negotiations. She didn't mention that Xylith had essentially forbidden their friendship, or that Jack was being reassigned. The next morning, the Vespari delegation arrived. They were insectoid beings with hard exoskeletons and compound eyes that seemed to see everything at once. Their mandibles clicked rapidly as they spoke, a sound that their translation devices converted into standard Galactic. During the initial meeting, the lead Vespari negotiator, Delegate Zekik, fixed his compound eyes on Kira. "We understand a Luminian will be part of the negotiation team," he said, his mandibles clicking. "We request verification that no mental bonds exist between Diplomat Voss and any human representatives." Kira felt all eyes turn to her. "I maintain strict neutrality in all diplomatic matters," she said carefully. That is not what we asked, Zikik insisted. Our intelligence indicates you have spent considerable time with a human male. We require assurance that no telepathic links have been formed. Ambassador Xylith stepped forward. Diplomat Voss was conducting cultural research. As is standard procedure for all new species in the Galactic Union, I can personally vouch for her neutrality. The Vespari seemed unsatisfied but moved on to other matters. As the meeting progressed, Kira found it hard to focus. Her thoughts kept drifting to Jack, wondering where he was and if he understood why she had suddenly become distant. After the meeting, a junior diplomat delivered a handwritten note to Kira. The paper itself was unusual. Most communication on the station was electronic. She unfolded it to find Jack's handwriting. Something isn't right about the Vespari claims. Meet me at Observation Deck 7 tonight at 2100 hours if you can. I have information you need to see. Jack, Kira looked around quickly and tucked the note into her robe. Meeting Jack would be directly disobeying Xylith's orders. But if he had important information about the negotiations, her duty as a diplomat was to investigate. As she weighed her options, Kira realized she had reached a turning point. Following her head meant focusing on her diplomatic career and forgetting about Jack. Following her heart meant risking everything she had worked for, and somewhere deep inside, she knew which path she was going to choose. At exactly 2100 hours, Kira arrived at Observation Deck 7. This area was rarely used since it faced away from the colorful nebula, offering only a view of empty space. Her heart beat quickly as she looked around for Jack. Over here, came a whisper from behind the maintenance panel. Jack emerged from the shadows, looking different than usual. His face was serious, and he wore a dark utility uniform instead of his regular engineering clothes. I wasn't sure you would come, he said, his voice low. I almost didn't, Kira admitted. Ambassador Xylith has forbidden me from seeing you. She says it compromises my neutrality in the Vespari negotiations. Jack nodded. I figured as much when I got reassigned to the Outer Ring. But this is important, Kira. I found something while doing maintenance near the Vespari docking bay. He pulled out a small data device and activated it. A holographic image appeared, showing what looked like communications logs. The Vespari ship received a transmission just before they arrived, Jack explained. It was encoded, but I recognized the signature. It came from a Dominion relay? Kira felt cold fear run through her body. The Dominion was an aggressive empire on the edge of known space, constantly looking to expand its territory and influence. Are you sure? She asked. The Dominion has no official contact with the Vespari. That's exactly why it's suspicious. I think the Vespari-human border dispute is being manipulated. Both sides are being pushed toward conflict. Kira studied the logs. Her diplomatic training included recognizing various communication patterns, and Jack was right. The signature matched known Dominion protocols. We need to tell Ambassador Xylith, she said. Jack shook his head. Not yet. We need more proof. The Dominion is careful. They would have agents on the station monitoring official channels. What do you suggest? There's a maintenance access that runs behind the Vespari quarters. I can use it to place a monitoring device that might pick up more transmissions. Kira frowned. That sounds dangerous and possibly illegal. It's my job to maintain station systems, which includes communication relays, Jack said with a small smile. I'm just being thorough. Before Kira could respond, the station's alarm system activated with a high-pitched wail. Red emergency lights began flashing throughout the corridor. Warning: pressure anomaly detected in Central Hub. All personnel evacuate to designated safety zones, announced the station's computer voice. Jack's communication device beeped. He checked it quickly and his face grew even more serious. There's been an explosion in the Central Hub, right next to the diplomatic meeting rooms. The negotiations, Kira gasped. We need to get there. They ran toward the Central Hub, joining crowds of panicked station residents heading in all directions. As they got closer to the diplomatic wing, the artificial gravity began to fluctuate. Kira felt herself becoming lighter, then heavier in rapid cycles. Gravity systems are damaged, Jack said, grabbing her arm to steady her. This is bad. They reached the edge of the central hub to find chaos. The large, open space that connected different parts of the station was filled with swirling debris. Several areas had emergency force fields activated, containing atmosphere where hull breaches had occurred. Beings from various species struggled in the unstable gravity. The diplomatic conference room is through there, Kira pointed, trying to see through the smoke and floating debris. The gravity is too unstable for you, Jack warned. Your body isn't built for these conditions. But the other diplomats might be trapped, Kira insisted. I have to help them. Jack looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. Stay close to me. If the gravity increases suddenly, I can support you. They made their way carefully across the central hub. The gravity continued to shift unpredictably. During one sudden increase, Kira felt as if her body would be crushed into the floor. Jack quickly pulled her against him, taking the brunt of the gravitational force. Are you okay? He asked when the gravity eased again. Yes, Kira gasped, though her body ached from the strain. They finally reached the diplomatic wing to find several injured diplomats outside the conference room. Ambassador Xylith was organizing an evacuation, her usual calm demeanor replaced by urgent efficiency. Diplomat Voss, she exclaimed when she saw Kira. Where have you been? And why is he here? She added, looking at Jack with suspicion. We were on observation deck 7 when the explosion happened, Kira explained quickly. What's the situation? The Vespari delegates are still inside the conference room with 2 human representatives, Xylith said. The door is jammed and internal. Communications are down. Jack immediately moved to the door control panel. I might be able to override this, he said, removing the cover to access the internal circuitry. As he worked, Kira turned to Xylith. Ambassador, we have reason to believe the Dominion is involved in this situation. They may be manipulating both humans and Vespari toward conflict. Xylith's eyes widened. That would explain the unusual Vespari demands. But why would the Dominion care about a minor border dispute? If humans and Vespari fight, the Galactic Union would be divided, Kira reasoned. Perfect conditions for Dominion expansion. A loud clunk interrupted their conversation as Jack managed to force the door open halfway. That's the best I can do, he said, breathing heavily from the effort. The gap was narrow, too small for most beings to fit through. Kira looked at Jack, then at the opening. I can fit, she said. I need to get in there. It's too dangerous, Jack and Xylith said simultaneously. I'm a diplomat. This is my job, Kira insisted. And I'm the only one small enough to fit through that gap. Before they could stop her, Kira squeezed through the opening into the conference room. Inside, she found a scene of confusion. The room's gravity was completely off, causing furniture and equipment to float freely. 2 human diplomats were trying to help 3 Vespari delegates who seemed disoriented. Diplomat Voss, one of the humans called out. Be careful. The Vespari are injured. Kira used handholds along the wall to make her way to them. The lead Vespari delegate Zikik had a crack in his exoskeleton. The other 2 were clicking there. Mandibles rapidly, a sign of distress. What happened? Kira asked. The explosion came from inside the room, the human diplomat explained. A device activated just after we began discussing the border issue. We think it was meant to look like a human weapon, but none of us brought anything like that in here. Kira remembered Jack's suspicions about Dominion involvement. We need to get everyone out. The door is partially open. As they worked to move the injured Vespari toward the door, Kira sensed something wrong. Using her telepathic abilities, she detected an unfamiliar mind pattern hiding in the room. It wasn't human or Vespari. There's someone else here, she warned Dot at that moment. A figure in a diplomatic aid uniform emerged from behind a floating conference table. He held a small weapon pointed at the group. No one is leaving, the figure said. The Dominion requires this conflict to proceed as planned. The 2 human diplomats moved protectively in front of the injured Vespari. Kira was amazed to see the natural enemies suddenly united against a common threat. Jack, Kira called through the partially open door. There's an armed Dominion agent in here. What happened next occurred so quickly that Kira could barely follow it. The door, which had been stuck halfway open, suddenly burst inward as Jack forced it the rest of the way with strength that seemed impossible. He launched himself across the room in the low gravity, directly at the armed Dominion agent. The agent fired his weapon, but in the zero gravity his aim was off. Jack crashed into him with the full force of his Deathworlder physiology. The impact sent them both spinning across the room, but Jack maintained his grip on the agent, eventually subduing him against a wall. That, Jack said, breathing hard as he secured the agent's weapon, is why you don't threaten a human's friends. Kira stared at Jack in amazement, seeing for the first time the full capability of a Deathworlder in action. It was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. As station security arrived to take control of the situation, Kira realized something important. Dating a Deathworlder might be a terrible idea in theory, but in practice it sometimes had its advantages. 3 days after the explosion, the Galactic Union station had mostly returned to normal. Repair crews worked around the clock to fix the damaged areas. The gravity systems were stable again, much to Kira's relief. Her body still ached from the strain of the fluctuations. Kira sat in a small meeting room with Ambassador Xylith and representatives from both the human and Vespari delegations. The mood was surprisingly cordial given recent events. The evidence is clear, Xylith said, displaying holographic images of the captured Dominion agent and the communication logs Jack had discovered. The Dominion attempted to create conflict between your species by fabricating border disputes and staging an attack during negotiations. The human representative, a tall woman named Susan Carter, nodded. We had suspected outside interference but lacked proof until now. Zikik, the lead Vespari delegate, clicked his mandibles in what Kira now recognized as agreement. The crack in his exoskeleton had been treated but was still visible. The Vespari hive acknowledges this deception. We withdraw our territorial claims against human colonies. And we withdraw our counterclaims, Susan responded. Perhaps we can discuss a joint security arrangement for the disputed sector instead. Kira watched with pride as the former enemies began planning cooperation rather than conflict. This was what diplomacy was meant to achieve. Still, she couldn't help looking toward the door occasionally, hoping to see Jack. She hadn't seen him since security had taken him away for questioning after the incident. Using his engineering access to spy on the Vespari ship and forcing open a sealed door during an emergency had violated several station protocols. Kira had tried to visit him, but was told he was restricted to quarters pending review. After the meeting concluded, Xylith asked Kira to stay behind. The older Luminian's expression was unreadable. You disobeyed direct orders by meeting with Engineer Nichols, Xylith began, her tone serious. Yes, Ambassador, Kira admitted. There was no point denying it. You compromised your diplomatic neutrality and potentially put the entire mission at risk. Kira lowered her eyes, prepared for the worst. Her career as a diplomat was likely over. And yet, Xylith continued, her voice softening slightly, your actions, however improper, helped uncover a Dominion plot that could have led to significant conflict within the Galactic Union. Kira looked up in surprise. The Union Council has reviewed the incident, Xylith said. They've decided that the outcome justifies the means in this case. Your record will show a formal reprimand for protocol violation, but you will retain your diplomatic status. Thank you, Ambassador, Kira said, relief washing over her. There's more, Xylith added. The Council is forming a new type of diplomatic team, one that combines the strengths of different species rather than keeping them separate. They want representatives who have already demonstrated ability to work across species barriers. What does that mean? It means, Diplomat Voss, that you are being offered a position on the first integrated response team. The team will include members from several Union species, including humans. Kira's heart quickened. And Engineer Nichols? For the first time in their acquaintance, Xylith smiled. His actions have been officially classified as emergency response measures. He has been cleared of any wrongdoing and offered a position on the same team, should he choose to accept. Kira tried to maintain her professional composure, but she could feel her skin flushing a deeper blue with excitement. There is one condition, Xylith added, becoming serious again. The team's first assignment will be on Earth. Earth? Kira repeated, her excitement giving way to apprehension. But the gravity, the atmospheric pressure, ... Accommodations will be made, Xylith assured her. The humans have developed environmental suits for non-Deathworlder species, and the team will be based in a human space station in orbit around Earth at first, with only short visits to the surface? Kira considered this. Going to Earth would be physically challenging, even dangerous for someone with her physiology. But it would also be a chance to see Jack's homeworld, to better understand the environment that had shaped him and his species. I accept the position, she said firmly. Later that day, Kira was in her quarters packing her few belongings when her door chimed. She opened it to find Jack standing there, looking slightly uncomfortable in formal civilian clothes instead of his engineering uniform. I heard we're going to be teammates, he said with a small smile. You accepted the position. Too? Kira asked, unable to hide her pleasure. How could I turn down the chance to show a beautiful Luminian my homeworld? Jack's smile widened. Though I should warn you, Earth is nothing like this station. It's messier, louder, and the gravity is a real pain in the neck. I've been practicing, Kira said. She showed him a small device attached to her wrist. It's a personal gravity adjuster. I can gradually increase it to get my body used to Earth conditions. Jack looked impressed. That's amazing. I've been worried about how you'd manage on Earth. It won't be easy, Kira admitted. But I think it's worth trying. There was a moment of awkward silence between them, both aware that their relationship had changed. They were no longer just a curious diplomat and a helpful engineer. They had faced danger together, saved lives together. I wanted to thank you, Kira said finally, for what you did in the conference room. It was ... reckless, dangerous, stupid? Jack suggested with a laugh. Brave, Kira finished. I've never seen anyone move like that. The way you handled the gravity changes, the way you subdued the Dominion agent. It was impressive. Jack looked embarrassed. That's just being human. We're built for crisis situations. Our bodies produce chemicals, called adrenaline and cortisol, that enhance our physical capabilities when we're stressed or threatened. Well, whatever it was, I'm glad you were there, Kira said. She hesitated, then added, the other Luminians warned me that dating a Deathworlder was a terrible idea. They said humans were too unpredictable, too physical, too dangerous. And what do you think now? Jack asked quietly. Kira moved closer to him, taking his hand in hers. His skin felt warm against her cooler touch. I think they were wrong. Yes. Humans come from a harsh world that made you strong in ways my people aren't. But that strength can protect as well as harm. That adaptability can solve problems instead of creating them. Jack gently squeezed her hand, careful of his greater strength. So, does this mean you'll go on a real date with me when we get to Earth? No diplomatic research, no cultural liaison duties. Just us? I'd like that, Kira said. Though you'll have to choose activities compatible with my environmental suit. I know the perfect place, Jack said. There's a beach near my hometown, where you can watch the sunset over the ocean. Even through an environmental suit, it's the most beautiful sight on Earth. As they stood together, planning their future on a planet Kira had never seen, she realized something important. Dating a Deathworlder might come with challenges and dangers she never expected, but it also offered opportunities for growth, protection, and understanding that she could never have found on her own peaceful world. Sometimes, the best diplomatic decisions weren't made in conference rooms or formal negotiations. Sometimes they happened in the space between two very different hearts finding common ground despite all odds. Dating a Deathworlder had seemed like a terrible idea in theory, but in practice it might just be the best decision Kira had ever made.